Some of the things that we asked them about, some of the answers that they gave, like, this is the only place where those answers are. They haven't made videos about it. It's not in their documentation. This is the only place where you're gonna find some of these answers that we've had about the YouTube A/B tester and that you guys have had too.
We recently had the opportunity to meet with YouTube's engineers because this video that we made recently got a lot of attention. Even Renee Ritchie, the YouTube liaison, commented on it because we came at them with some wild accusations about their new test and compare thumbnail tool being broken.
The testing and the study that we've been doing over the last 8 months, it wasn't broken. The engineers actually told us that some of the testing that we did over the past 8 months helped influence their decisions to tighten confidence intervals and make the tool perform better today.
And they asked us to continue running a control test.
Yep.
It doesn't break it. That's how it's supposed to work. That's how you test the confidence interval. Okay,
Yes.
That's probably the juiciest part, in my opinion, was we
Yes.
were asking them the confidence interval, put very simply, just how confident are you that this gives accurate results and not kind of randomized data that doesn't really mean anything like our tests have been showing? They didn't tell us.
They wouldn't give us an exact number. So if you're talking like data science, basically a 95% confidence level is what you're looking for. That's very standard. What they did say is that their testing should be far better than 50% confident. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 tags that they give. So there's winner, preferred, and then inconclusive. So they said that for inconclusive, they just have no confidence that one is particularly better than the other. For the preferred tag, they say that the confidence level should be well above 50%. And then for the winner, it said that the confidence level for the winner tag should be even higher than the preferred. So what does that actually mean? Well, we don't have a number, but hopefully somewhere between 50 and 95%.
Now, another thing they said is that before it was like too lenient.
Yes.
It was giving results when it shouldn't have been. They said they had improved it since then, but they still didn't say how much they improved it. And they asked us to separate our data from pre-launch and post-launch, which we are doing. We're absolutely doing that. Unfortunately, we've still seen several instances since the launch of this still happening, getting a winner label with drastically different results on control tests, even after the launch on some of our channels and even other people's channels. So I'm not convinced that it's fixed.
All of this that they were telling us wasn't really boosting our confidence in the accuracy of the tool. And Julia literally told them in the meeting, guys, based on what you're telling us, we can't go back to our audience and recommend that everybody use this tool. Point blank, period. That's what she said to them. And you're like, ooh, how did that go? They were so cool about it.
They were awesome. Like, that was such a good meeting. They were just trying to learn from us, get feedback on what we've been discovering. They told us to keep sending them results of things that we're seeing and things that our audience are seeing. And they tried to help us understand and answer as many of our questions that I think they were legally allowed to answer. So it was pretty amazing.
The next question that we asked that was probably one of the most important to me was, does using the tool have the potential to hurt my channel? Or for any creator, could it hurt their channel? And they said yes. It wasn't as black and white as a yes, but what they said is, if you upload a really good thumbnail and then a really bad thumbnail, the performance of that bad thumbnail can drag down the performance of that good thumbnail. And so what they recommended is to upload 2 really good thumbnails or 3 really good thumbnails.
Yeah, so I think that's another point that kind of points to it working well for larger channels. Yeah. So one thing is that a really seasoned creator like Jimmy Donaldson, Mr. Beast, is going to know that both of his thumbnails are really good. So now suddenly these big creators have even more of an advantage over the small creators than they already did, because brand new creators really don't know which one's going to be a good thumbnail. Now, there's other things about the tester too that make us really worried about small creators using it, and I'm afraid it's just giving larger creators another advantage that the small creators don't have. For one thing, I think the larger your channel, if you have a huge channel, I think you are more likely to get accurate results. We've even collaborated with other creators that have over 1 million subscribers so that we could test it on a wide variety of channels. Another thing is that if you don't get at least 5,000 impressions, as you probably know if you've tried using the tool, you don't see any results at all. You're not even getting percentages, let alone a label on how conclusive it was. So there's just a lot of things that point to it not working super well for small creators, which I understand, but I almost wish they were being more transparent about, like you said, maybe you don't get it until you reach the partner program, or they're just really clear about that you should be extra careful if you're a small creator.
They did say one of the reasons why they didn't put a gate in front of a lot of creators for using this is that there's a lot of hype, a lot of people are going to try it, maybe realize that it doesn't work, and then just naturally stop using it, and then those people who it did work for will continue. I guess I get that, but at the same time, I would like a little more transparency. Okay, let's switch gears here and talk about bugs. There were some bugs that they confirmed that are pretty big, and then there were some that we've wondered about that they said we shouldn't be seeing at this point. Okay, so one of the big bugs that we saw is that YouTube may be showing this or different thumbnails to the same user. So like if one user clicks onto the YouTube homepage, they'll see one, your thumbnail A, then maybe they click off and then click back and then they see your thumbnail B. YouTube said that should not be happening. They said from the beginning they've tried to be really careful that that doesn't happen. There are other reasons why your users might be seeing multiple thumbnails, and I guess there's still a small possibility that it's a bug, but it's very unlikely. If you still think you're seeing it, just report it so that they can have that data.
And it's likely, I mean, we don't know how you're testing it, but it's very likely that you're maybe logged into a different account.
Yeah.
Maybe you're on a different device. I'd be surprised if that affected it, but it could. Or probably the most likely scenario is that the creator themselves is kind of all over the place. Maybe they're like, oh, I'm going to upload this one thumbnail because I don't have the other two ready yet. And then they start the test after the video's been up for 4 hours and you already saw the first thumbnail. So you could have seen 3 thumbnails without it actually being YouTube showing people different thumbnails while the test is running.
Yep. So that is a big problem that a lot of people are seeing, but it's just likely that it's something else causing that, not necessarily a bug. Okay, another bug that's like incredibly problematic that was brought to our attention by a creator named Vladimir is that he did an A/B test, and rather than showing the A thumbnail or the B thumbnail, the tester ended up showing a random screenshot from his video.
Yeah.
What in the world? So we brought this one to the YouTube engineers, and as soon as we started trying to describe what this bug was like, they were kind of like looking at each other a little bit, and they're like, okay, yeah, we've seen that one before. And it was just like, that is a really big problem. I haven't personally seen that on our channel, but it sounds like as I watched through Vladimir's video, like lots of people were saying, yeah, I got the screenshot thumbnail, like it was happening pretty extensively.
I saw it while watching the video as the watch next.
Yes. I don't even really know what to say about that bug, but like it is a known bug. They're working on it.
Right. And I had seen, like, he showed a screenshot of the thumbnail test running. He's like showing it real time. And then they had no percentages. It said not enough data. And he's like, well, yeah, because you're not showing either of them. If that is happening in your channel, that is going to really, really hurt your views. So I would just stop the thumbnail test altogether at that point and try to upload another thumbnail as a single thumbnail, just hopefully stop it in its tracks.
Okay, it's really important to remember that YouTube beta tested this with a good number of creators for multiple months. But then in the big rollout, they rolled it out to millions of creators. And so it's very likely you're going to continue to see bugs that might just be very, very random. So if you do see any bugs or problems when you're running tests, report. It's so important that they can get that data from your channel so that things can be fixed.
Yeah. And I think if you're running control tests, like a lot of people in our previous video agreed that they would do, and we've seen mixed results. We've seen some people come back and say, yeah, we're getting a good even split. That's awesome. That means the thumbnails tool is working well in those instances. And then we've seen some people where they say, oh, I got the winner label and it's drastically different percentages and it was a control test. But if you get that, send the results. I would say if you had an even split, it's probably not worth sending the results to YouTube. But if you get a really wide range and it says winner, it's supposed to be statistically significant, then I would send those over to YouTube so that they know what's going on. And maybe they can find a pattern in the type of channels or size of channels that this is happening to.
Yeah. Okay, I think the last thing that I want to address here, and again, maybe one of the more important things, is just what's YouTube's motivation with this tool. One of the things that the YouTube engineer said is that overall, since they started, sending out the A/B testing to creators, is that the creators who are using the A/B tester got more watch time overall than those that didn't, or when they were not using it. There's a lot of problems with that statement to me. Obviously, depending on how you look at the data, when were they testing, when were they not testing? But I think it really speaks to what's important to YouTube, and it's that watch time increases. And I don't fault YouTube for that. I think it's obvious that YouTube is a business. The more watch time they get, they can run more ads. That just makes sense from a business perspective. But that's how they're looking at this. As a whole, more watch time is happening. But what that doesn't take into account is the individual creator, and that on some channels, while some channels do get more watch time, some channels will end up getting less, just because they end up, uploading a thumbnail wasn't as good as compared to one that was good. So just realize that and remember that as you go to use this tool. There are some risks. Overall, yes, it is working, to increase watch time across the platform, but that doesn't mean it's going to necessarily work for you on your channel.
Okay, another thing that I wanted to cover, just because a lot of you guys asked, and so we brought it to them, and the question was, can it affect impressions? Now, my first impression of that just sounds like, well, it's probably just kind of coincidental. It was going to happen anyways. But we had so many people from that last video bringing that to us. We had dozens and dozens of people. And a lot of these people seemed like they were really analyzing it in a pretty objective way. They were saying, hey, it's my worst video in years. So I'm not saying it's for sure because of the thumbnail tester, but it sure looks like it. And we even saw some weird things with control tests where it looks like the impressions would flatline while we changed from one single thumbnail to 2 or 3 more of the exact same thumbnail. No changes in thumbnails. We just went from a single thumbnail to running a control test. And so like that shouldn't change anything, but then we would see sometimes a pretty drastic flatline in impressions. So that could have totally been coincidental, and we brought this to the engineers, and they said, yeah, it doesn't re-index the video or anything, so that really has no reason it should happen. And I tend to believe that.
Yeah,
we don't know
makes
for
sense.
sure. It's kind of anecdotal, but it sounds like that's not affecting. And some people said they saw more views and impressions than usual. So we did bring them the question. I wouldn't say we got a super definitive answer, but they said that really shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. Overall, the meeting with the engineers was really awesome. They were great, and I just want to say thank you to them for meeting with us. We still have some questions about the tool. We're going to continue to test because we have those questions, but we're still in contact with them. So if there are other questions that you guys have about the tool or that we didn't address in this video, feel free to ask us in the comments. We may have answers.
Yeah, I want to be your inside contact. I think that'd be awesome to be the ones that go to the YouTube engineers for you when you have a question. And if you want to know more about the details of how we ran the previous test, because there's a lot more detail to it, then watch this video next.